If you don't have money to tip your server and you go out to eat and don't tip your server, I have zero respect for you.
We do not care.
Tipping culture is out of control. This is a list of people I'm not tipping in 2024, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not tipping at the drive-thru. I'm not tipping for Froyo. I'm not tipping for Auntie Anne's. Yes, they ask for tips there now. And I'm not tipping on to-go orders. And I know the hostesses have such a huge problem. It's my opinion. And yes, I have been a hostess and a server in a past life. Anyone who sets their own prices, I will absolutely not be tipping you. The whole point of tipping a service professional is that you're paying the business like double or triple what the employee is actually making during that service. So if you're both the business and the servicing employee, why would I pay more on top of that if you're going to obtain the full 100% of what I pay? Doesn't make any sense. If you need a medical qualification or license in order to administer the service to me, I'm not giving you a tip. It goes against the code of ethics to accept tips for these types of procedures. So
I'm literally at the airport at the self-checkout machine buying a water. Self-checkout. Who is this even going to? Like, I'm again at self-checkout.
Can you focus on me? Baby, can you focus on me?
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Giselle Linya. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss a post. So today we're tackling a topic that's been on my mind for a while, tipping culture. It is a necessary way to show appreciation for a good service. Or has it gotten completely out of hand? Because lately, I feel like I'm tipping for things that don't even make sense. And I know I'm not the only one. So let's get into it. So in this first episode, I'll be breaking things down into a few sections. First, we'll talk about the original intent behind tipping and why it started in the first place. Then we'll get into where tipping has gone completely off the rails. From self-checkout screens asking for a tip to tip jars at gas stations. We'll also discuss the financial burden that tipping has become, the pros and cons of tipping culture as a whole, and finally, what a better balance could look like. I want to hear your thoughts on this too. Are we all having the same experience? And where do you stand? Let's get into it, and be sure to drop your comments in the comment section down below. Tipping's original purpose. Now, tipping wasn't always the monster that it is today. It originally served a simple purpose, rewarding great service. Think about restaurants. Servers typically earn a low hourly wage because tips are meant to supplement their income. In that kind of situation, tipping makes sense. Someone is literally waiting on you, making sure that your dining experience is smooth, and putting an effort to provide good service. And honestly, I don't think I've ever dined in without leaving a tip. If the service is great, then I'll tip. Well, because I genuinely appreciate when someone goes above and beyond. That's how tipping should work. It should be based off of effort and quality of service.
Do you expect tips just because it says it now every time?
You don't expect the tips because we want it.
So if you do something right here and you don't say, I tipped you digitally, you don't know.
Really interesting. I thought like the other person was judging if I press like no tip or...
If they are judging you, they should not, because they literally can't see.
A lot of people aren't used to tipping for quick services. You think that you guys deserve it?
For the most part, yeah. Paying for not just the stuff that you're getting, but also the experience.
How do you feel about those screens?
I don't necessarily like it myself. I feel like it puts pressure on the consumer for no reason. Like for instance, if I'll go to a little store around here, grab a drink or something, and then they flip the screen, it's like asking for a tip. For what?
You really want to show like an act of kindness, something that like speaks beyond words. The cash tip is a little better way to say that.
They are happy to give, we are happy to take.
This allows you to choose an option to ask your customer to give us a tip or to give you a tip. Not everybody is going to tip you, and you damn sure don't deserve a tip if you don't do anything. Okay? And you know what? If you're a waitress or a bartender, you have to work for that tip. You are not entitled to anybody's money. Okay? And if you add automatic gratuity onto somebody's check, you need to expect that you are not going to get an additional tip, regardless of who you are going to have to split that automatic gratuity with. Now, listen, if it's for a large party, I completely understand the need to add additional gratuity. I'm not talking about that, okay? So, and chances are you will get more money if it is a large party. But this idea of automatic tips and gratuities onto people's checks, that is not your bar patron or your restaurant patron's job to add additional money onto it after you have already increased their tip with an automatic gratuity. If you don't want to have to split it with somebody else, and that is part of your restaurant's policy, guess what? You need to go find another job. Go find another restaurant to go work for. Go find another bar to work at. Because it is not your patron's job to increase your money because you have to split it. You chose to work there. Tipping culture is way the fuck out of hand, okay? And in this economy, people don't be having extra money to be paying y'all.
When tipping goes too far. But let's be real, tipping isn't just for servers anymore, it's everywhere. And at some point, it stopped being a gesture of appreciation and turned into an obligation. You walk into a crumble cookie, grab 2 cookies, and suddenly, boom, the cashier spins the tablet around with that awkward, oh, there'll be something on the screen moment, like, for what? Bringing me a bag of cookies? What service am I tipping for exactly? And let me tell you, it's not just the bakeries. One time I stopped at the gas station during a road trip, went inside to use the restroom, came out, grabbed a quick snack for the road, and guess what? A tipping jar sitting right there on top of the counter. For what? Handing me a bag of chips? At this point, it feels like tipping has just turned into an expectation for just existing in a store. And don't even get me started on these hairstylists and braiders. Look, I'm all for paying people what they're worth, but when I'm showing up washed, blow dried, bringing my own hair, and paying $200 for braids that only last 2 weeks, why am I still being expected to tip on top of that? Where does it end?
So please tell me I'm not the only person that is seeing this discourse that's going on right now about the girl who went and got her hair braided. She got some small knotless French curl braids and the stylist charged her $350, and she said that she didn't tip because she didn't feel like she was obligated to tip. And let me just say this. The braider was an at-home braider. The hair was included, and you set your price to what it is. The first thing I want to say for everybody that's saying, like, and I will say this, it is a lot of these in her comments telling her that she should have tipped on top of the $350 for the service. And it's some of us as well, but it's a lot more of these. And what's get me is because when y'all get to getting into braids, like I remember that one girl who was going viral on TikTok for being a braider, and she had nice braids, but she was charging $500 and up for some braids. And I'm just looking at my sister sitting in that chair, and I'm like, it just didn't sit right for me because $500 for some braids is insane. But then giving it to one of these instead of one of these, like, we're not going to act like we don't do this shit. Black women don't do this shit when it comes to braid. I don't care if it's Africans, Black Americans. I don't care if you get all that discourse, but to act like that's not our culture and you will go sit in a white woman chair and pay her $500, that's insane to me. So to see all these in the comments saying that those braids, she should have tipped because the braids are cute and the overhead and all this shit, it's just like, why y'all, and during Black History Month, that's probably what's struck a nerve. Why do y'all feel like, where do y'all get that from? Because just be for real, like, you can go to the Africans and get some small knotless braids, again, with the hair included, and still spend about $250 max. And I'm in the middle Georgia area. This is one of Robin's and making. I've never spent over $250 for some braids by the Africans, again, with the hair included. And the fact, y'all, that I'm just shocked about is that the actual braids, they were pretty braids, but the braids themselves stopped about right here. So it's not like it's past the bottom of your brow, or it's touching your butt, or it's like down your back. The braids literally stopped about right here, and then the rest was curled. And what's crazy to me is, I think people are confused, especially these people in the comments, because y'all don't know nothing about black hair. Y'all don't know nothing about braiding hair for real. So I think y'all hear French curl and y'all think that stylist had to do something extra, when in reality, that's just the type of braiding hair. The braiding hair is already curled. So you choose whatever length you want the actual braid to stop, and the rest will hang. That does not require you to do no type of flexi rod or nothing special or no type of extra technique. It's just the braiding hair that made it a French curl. That's it. So I'm confused, like, and it's like, y'all don't think that hairstylist, and she included the hair, like the girl didn't have to pay for the hair. Y'all don't think that stylist already charged her for the tip in the cost of the braiding gel, in the cost of the hair being included inside $350 for some braids to start right here? I don't care if it was small, medium, or large. You don't think that stylist, and I'm sure a black girl did it. Y'all don't think that stylist already charged her for that? Be fucking for real. And if you do hair at home, this is another thing we got to talk about. If you do hair at home, in my opinion, you should not be charging what actual stylists who get up and go pay booth rent charge. And my logic is the fact that your cost of living is your cost of living, right? Like, I can understand going to a salon, an actual person who paid booth rent and responsible for paying for their products and all that other stuff. I understand that in a salon, but even still, to a certain degree, like, you're just not going to charge me what you want to charge me. But if you do hair at home, I was just saying, if I was a stylist, I would not be including The fact that I have to do hair at home, regardless if it's because I'm unlicensed or whatever it is. My rent is my rent. Like currently, I pay $1,600. I'm not gonna say I'm inviting you to my home so I can get some money, but I'm gonna charge you for coming in my home. I'm gonna put that as a part of the price because I'm at home. That does not make sense. And
gratuity is not a tip to your server. We don't own the gratuity. Most restaurants/lounges take half or sometimes all of it. The other half that remains is normally pooled and split amongst everybody that worked that shift. Grat is grat. A tip is a tip. What don't be clicking? Well, to me, what's not clicking is how you intentionally take a job that you know pays you $2.17 an hour and that you have to rely on the rest of your income by begging for charity from strangers. Now, when I go out to eat at like sit down restaurants, I always tip. I was just raised to, give a proper tip. But y'all are really, really getting out of hand. First of all, gratuity is a tip. Whoever told you that, you need to go fight them. Your job is stealing from you. You got 99 problems and I'm not one of them. It's not the customer, it's you and your employer. Look, we try to tip y'all. We try to make things work. But y'all just keep demanding more and more and more and more and more. And y'all are asking us as customers for things that we just can't give you. We're pouring from an empty cup already. You work at a restaurant. You know where all the sharp objects are. Go grab some of them and demand that your employer pay you a proper salary. You gotta split tips and you acting like that's my problem. I didn't do that to you. Get a new job. Unionize.
The financial burden of tipping. Y'all, that previous creator is hilarious, really. But it's not just about tipping being everywhere. It's also about the financial strain between taxes, service fees, and increased prices. We're already paying more for everything, and now we're supposed to tip every single time we interact with another human being that's doing their job. It's like companies have found a way to shift their responsibilities of paying employees a livable wage onto the customers. Instead of businesses increasing their salaries, they just added a tip option and let us take care of it. Meanwhile, we're out here feeling bad if we don't tip. The guilt is real. And that's the problem. Tipping has become less about rewarding great services and more about avoiding that awkward moment where you're the only person who pressed no tip while the employee is standing there just watching you. It feels like emotional blackmail at this point. And I want to know whoever invented these little tablets that they're turning around and asking for the tip, because we have a serious problem. I feel like this really became a thing in like 2020, and now every single restaurant has used it to gain their employees a little more tip and lower their payments to their employees. It's kind of annoying.
I am so over tipping. It's gone too far. And so here's my new perspective, my new strategy when it comes to tipping. Number one, I am not tipping anywhere where they ask me to tip before I experience the service. For example, I went and got a $9 smoothie the other day, and right when I was like ordering my smoothie, they're like, oh, I'll get the breakfast smoothie. Then they're like, okay, it's just gonna ask you a few questions. The answer is no. One, y'all haven't made my smoothie. 2, I haven't tasted my smoothie. 3, I don't even know if I'm gonna like this smoothie yet. Why am I tipping? Like, I'm not tipping. Also, it's a smoothie. It's not like a sit-down restaurant. Like, what are we doing? There's a lot of places that make sense to tip, like restaurants. You experience the food, you experience the service, you're sitting down, you're being served. Of course you leave a tip there. But again, that tip is based off the experience, okay? Same thing, nail salons. You get your nails done, you pay and you tip based off the service, okay? I'm not tipping preemptively. So that goes for coffee shops where they turn it around, ask you questions, ice cream shops, anywhere like that. Ice cream shops alone is just a no for me. You scooped my ice cream for 15 seconds and put it in a cup. Like, no. You guys are paid hourly, like hourly rates. If they're not enough, talk to your employer. But why is that burden being put on the consumers? I will never understand. As a business owner, imagine if every single time you guys bought a planner from my site, it was like, oh, just leave a tip. Leave a tip for what? We hand make all your planners and I'm still like, leave a tip for what? No.
I think it's safe to say that we can all agree collectively in the United States that tipping culture has gone way too far. Call me cheap, call me frugal. I am quite frugal actually, but call me whatever you want to call me. I do not care. I'm done with the tipping culture in this country. So I went to okay. I went to go pick up my plant, my alocasia, at this plant store, like a very local plant store in my neighborhood. Say hi, Allie. I'm gonna name her Allie Wong, back there, as you can see. And I went in there already knowing what I'm going to get. I did not bother anyone. I did not ask for any help. I walked around the store myself. I picked up my plants myself. Nothing. There was no exchange of conversation with a single sales associate. Not one. So I got up there and I took out my card to pay. And this sales associate, who didn't even bother to say, hello, welcome in, nothing. After I paid, turns her little iPad around. And I'm sure this is coming from the people at the top. They're asking them to do this. She turns her iPad around and her iPad had no option but 20%, 30%, and 50% tip on top of a $30 plants that I picked out myself. And then there ensues a very long stare down, in R. Kelly's word. And I look at her and she looked at me and I looked at her, because what you're not going to do is emotionally blackmail me with my own money. So we're standing, what feels like I think it must have been like 5 minutes or maybe 5 seconds. I don't know. It was a state of purgatory that felt forever and a day. Then she proceeds to let out a very long theatrical sigh, flips the iPad around, does something in there and comes back around and gives me my receipt. And so I grabbed my receipt and I left and I grabbed my McDonald's, my chicken nuggets, honey, with the money that I was going to use to tip her. And I was never going to tip her. I am done. This being rude about it, and the fact that like almost everywhere you go now, you don't even get a choice anymore. Like you don't get a choice. You must tip is insane. Why would I tip on something that I just picked up myself? I didn't ask for help. What am I tipping you for? For your actual job? Why is your boss not paying you enough? And why are you working a job where you're so angry at me for like just picking up my plants and wanting to pay? I'm done with tipping culture. I'm only tipping if I'm sitting down somewhere getting service, or my Uber driver. That's it. Most other culture, mine included, where I'm from, is insulting to just offer someone money on top of whatever their job is. Like, people would take umbrage to that, you know? Like, why are you offering me money? Like, you think I'm poor or something? You're calling me poor? Why would you offer me free money? Only in America do we do this nonsense. And it has to stop. There has to be a cap on it. It's gone too far. These companies are dependent on us to pay their employees' bills. It should not work like that. I understand that we all got to eat. I'm eating myself. But enough is enough.
Have you seen the video of the woman who orders DoorDash and she decides that she's going to pay in cash instead of paying on the app? The woman, the DoorDash lady, comes and gives her the food and she hands over the cash and she's like, no, don't worry, keep your tip. She's like, no, take it. And she's like, no, I left you a note in your food. The woman opens the note and it says, I didn't do anything with your food this time, but next time, tip your driver. Sorry? So who are you? First of all, I don't know why you're expecting other people to keep your lights on at home. Go for the people that you're working for, because they should be paying you more. It's not right. But let me show you one of our bills, right? So £543 for 4 of us. It was a great night. Delilah's, honestly, 10/10, cannot recommend enough. You first get charged an entertainment fee, £21.72. Now, you chose the entertainment. Why am I paying for it? If I'm choosing the entertainment, I should be able to select songs, right? But the burlesque dancers, Then they do included gratuity, 20%. Now, that is service charge. That should be where the deal ends. It should end there. £108.60. Now, listen, we're fine with this. We will pay this. Total tax, £55.66. Again, listen, if that's what you need, take it from me. So the balance is then £728 from 543, mind you. Then suggested tip. Now you're taking the piss. Now we did pay, and I only ever pay 18 because I think an additional £100, bearing in mind you've already added 20% gratuity, is insane. Insanity, darling. So they end up getting basically what? I don't know how much. I can't do maths, but a lot more.
So now let's get into the pros and cons of tipping culture. Now, I'll give credit where it's due. The pros of tipping culture are, for the people who rely on the tips, it's a chance to earn more based on the quality of their service. It also incentivizes good customer experiences. And in industries like restaurants, it also allows businesses to keep their menu prices lower instead of raising them to pay higher wages. But the cons, well, they're stacking. First, tipping is no longer based on services. We're expected to tip even when there's barely an interaction. It's no longer a thank you for going the extra mile. It's just an expectation. Second, it puts a burden on us, the consumers, instead of the business owners. Why should I be guilted into paying an extra 20% just so someone could make a fair wage? That should be the company's responsibility, not ours. And third, the societal pressure is exhausting. The awkwardness of pressing no tip on the screen while an employee stares you down is real. It's gotten to the point where we feel bad for not tipping, even in places where it makes no sense.
Somebody help me. This is a real legit question. But I think tipping is starting to go a little bit too far. And here's what I mean. I was at the airport and the little store where you check out, I had bought a few items. And when I was done, it asked that I want a tip. And so I'm trying to figure out, tip you for what? I grabbed the items and I paid for them. Why am I tipping you again for just doing your job? Like you didn't provide any extra service. So I'm just confused because I even seen when people selling stuff now, they asking for a tip. We bought your product. Why are we tipping you to cash us out? I don't know. But if you know, just help me. I don't mind tipping people, but it got to make sense.
I think we can all agree that tipping culture has gotten completely out of control, at least here in America. Watch what happens when this guy goes to a self-checkout kiosk at the airport to try and purchase this bottle of water.
I'm at a Cheapo Express at the airport. There are no employees, right? So, wait for this. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get an iced tea or something.
Now remember, there's no employees at the counter here.
Checkout here, right? Okay.
All by yourself.
Scan it. Okay. Now, I'm going to flip you around just so you see what I see. See that? So I'm going to say next. Would I like to leave a tip? I have not seen a single employee. I have scanned my own Perrier. And now the robot wants me to tip it. Should I do like 18%? Getting 20%?
Then that is your final receipt.
Thank you. I'll leave the tip in cash.
Oh, awesome.
Is there an issue?
Oh, yeah, no, just waiting for the cash that you're gonna leave for me.
Oh, so you want it now?
Better now than never.
Oh, yep. Okay, yeah. Here you go.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. Didn't you say that you was gonna leave me cash on the table?
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am here for you to remember. Yep. Where's my cash?
All right, thank you.
All right, have a great night.
You too.
All right. Damn, that's it. That's why she wanted to leave this on the table. Bill was $97.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna leave you cash because I know they tax y'all.
Girl, Uncle Sam be taking me up.
I know they do. I know they do.
Thank you. Girl, the government don't want this. What part of the government is gonna take this?
Well, that's all I had.
Well, babe, you should have never came in. The government is not gonna be able to take a cut from $3. You could go ahead and keep that.
Finding a balance. So my question is, where do we go from here? For businesses, pay your employees fairly. If your company can't afford to pay decent wages without relying on tip, well, maybe it's time to rethink your business model. For consumers, don't feel obligated to tip, especially when the service doesn't warrant it. Tip when you are truly appreciative of the effort, not just because you feel pressured. As for workers, understand that a tip is supposed to be a reward for great service, not an automatic expectation. If a customer tips you, then it should feel like a bonus, not a requirement. At the end of the day, tipping should be a choice, not a guilt trip. So these are my final thoughts. Tipping culture has gone from being an act of generosity to something that feels like a forced transaction. And if we're being honest, a lot of us are tired of it. So I want to hear from you. Have you had experiences where you felt pressured to tip? And do you think that tipping culture is getting out of hand? Or do you think that it's just a necessary part of life now? Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. What are you doing if you made it to the end of this video and you didn't subscribe yet? But technically not the end, because there are going to be still more videos playing. But anyways, y'all, let's meet in the comment section down below. Tell me about it. What's your experience? Are you a server? How do you feel in today's society? Do you feel pressured to tip? How is your experience as a server? Are people tipping? Are people not tipping? I was a server once in my lifetime, and y'all, when I used to serve, I honestly didn't care. I was a teenager, of course, and I didn't care if people tipped or not, y'all. I'm here for the money, but if the money's not there, it wasn't for me, okay? But overall, I enjoyed my server days for about 5 months, but I treated everyone equally, whether they tipped me $300 or a penny, believe it or not. Anyways, y'all, let me know what your experience is like. But that's all of the commentary that I have for you today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let's finish this video.
Speaking of big, in America, we got a big problem. I went and got a field today. It was $50. I went to go pay. Paid on my card, tapped it. The lady said, "Will you be leaving your tip in cash?" Excuse me, who said I was leaving a tip for these basic nails? Although I had full intention on tipping, I'm a tipper. I tip 90% of the time. The service has to be atrocious in order for me not to tip. I slid her money. Service providers, you are mentally ill if you become upset because somebody does not leave you a tip and you make your own prices. Please charge what you're worth. Don't charge what people you think people gonna pay. Charge what you're worth, and people will still come. So you're not upset if somebody don't tip you. Don't rely on tips. Charge your worth. I did hair for years. I was never ever upset when somebody leave me a tip. I felt well compensated. A tip was a plus for me. Thank you very much. Coffee shops, I got the biggest beef with you. Next time that barista spin that screen around and say, "One more question," and they don't like the answer to my question, and that big demeanor change, I'm going to jail. And what I look like going to jail for being a barista ass? What you in here for? Being a barista's ass? And I'm not even a tough guy. Okay? I'm just addicted to coffee. I'm not a morning person. And I don't like people's reaction when they ask me for something and I say no and they get an attitude with me. It's a problem. In this economy, that's going to get somebody up. Could we please take the tip off the screen? When did that even start? All y'all got to do is raise the prices on the coffee, pay them people a little bit more, and we all be all right. Just raise the price. I'm already addicted to this shit. I'm going to buy it regardless. Finesse me a little bit. America, this economy, it's going to get somebody hurt.
There is no freaking way I just went to go get froyo, where you make it yourself. Okay, I'm sitting there with my little bowl, and I put my ice cream in, and then I move over to my favorite section, the toppings, okay? And I put in some chocolate-covered strawberries, some brownies, and then I move over to the little section where you have to weigh your ice cream, and it gives you the total. And not gonna lie, y'all, that was some expensive froyo. But anything to make my stomach happy, of course. And so I take out my wallet, pull out my card, and I'm tapping it, and it's not working. So I was like, okay, maybe I can swipe it. I swipe it, and it's still not going through. And I was low-key getting embarrassed because, like, there's people behind me. And the worker comes up to me, and he's like, it's not going through because it's asking you to tip. I was like, oh. And he was like, press the bottom right corner. And I was like, the no tip? And he goes, yeah, we don't get those tips anyway. The owner keeps them. We don't get paid enough. I was like, oh, but I'm just here for my froyo, okay? But like, I think it's crazy that these self-serve places are asking you to tip and the owners are keeping it. Like, that makes no sense at all.
At the risk of being called broke, I gotta ask. Can we all admit that this tipping has gotten out of control? And don't get me wrong, restaurants, I get it. Waitresses, waiters, I know y'all only making about 45 cents an hour. And that's crazy. So I get it. The minimum I tip is about 15%. And I could tip up to 100% of the bill. It just depends on how I'm feeling. The drunker I am, the more I'm finna tip. You understand me? But if I'm placing an order online for some food and you're making me pay online, like there's no option for me to pay at pickup, don't ask me for no damn tip. I ain't even seen the food yet. What? I haven't even seen the food. I don't know what's going on with the food. I could get there and it looked like trash. And I'm already tipped 20%. You got to be kidding. What? And not to mention you folks that be providing services. I just seen this video. This girl went to go get a massage. They asked her to pay for the massage before she got the massage. And then asked for a tip before she got the massage. And then got mad when she tipped like 10%. What? That's crazy. What be on y'all's mental for real? Why not just increase your... If you want the tip that bad, increase your prices.
Can you focus on me? Baby, can you focus on me?